Hello, Cosmic Soul family. Ella Ivy here with Livzenastrology. I just wanted to pop on here and I was inspired. Oh, sorry about that, guys. Hold on. Oh, I'm doubling down here. Oh, Uranus and Gemini showing up twice. Anyway, hey guys, Ella Ivy here, lives in astrology. Third time's a charm. Anyway, I was inspired to come on here and to talk about this upcoming eclipse in Pisces happening on September 7th. And I don't know about you guys, but I was definitely feeling this new moon in Virgo at 0 degrees that just happened a few days ago, and it's been pretty potent. It's been this deeply purifying time. Just really, if anybody ever here has done a detox or a fast or anything along those lines, it's pretty intense. There's stuff that comes up and comes out, and we can have what are called flu-like symptoms, which can be very intense and traumatic. Right? It makes you feel sick. It brings you down. It's like, man, I can't even get off the couch. I can't even do nothing. and and so we hear this terminology is you have to feel it to heal it. Well, for me, I've definitely had to go through this process of purifying not only my body, my physical vehicle, but also my mental, my emotions, my spiritual beliefs, things that I had learned in early childhood, right? So this has been a deeply transformative time for me in this Virgo season. Um, and especially since it's also happening in my midhaven, right? So I've got Virgo in the 10th house. So I would look to see for you guys where Virgo is in your chart to see where this activation, this portal at 0 degrees happened with the new moon frequency. And this conversation is going to be moving to as we're going through eclipse season and talking about this approaching full moon happening September 7th. So we're in this potent window of energy. And I know a lot of people talk about, especially if you follow astrology or energy readers or anybody who works with this type of thought form and process, there's always things changing. That's the one constant that's never going to stop, is that things are always shifting and changing. It's just, how are they changing? What are they changing into? What are the patterns? What are the currents of energy? Astrology talks about the weather, right? So we want to know if it's going to be a rainy day and whether we need to bring an umbrella, or it's going to be a sunny day and we need to bring, sunscreen if you're still wearing sunscreen, which let it be natural sunscreen, because anyway. So that's all this cosmic weather is about. It's about understanding the patterns of currents of energy that we're in so that you know how to prepare yourself, at least somewhat, right? Just like you're going to prepare yourself for a wintry day or a rainy day or a sunny day. And so, just coming from that perspective, I wanted to share with you some of the insights that I was receiving, as again, we're still in this window. And today is the last day of a 10-day gap day sequence that we had for the Mayan calendar system. And so we were just off of a 10-day run in between this new moon energy of, gap days, or what are called galactic activation portal days. If you follow the Mayan calendar or one of the Mayan calendar systems, because there's many Mayan calendars, but this one's from the Tolkien Mayan calendar system or the 13 moon calendar system. And so, per that calendar system, there's 52 gap days a year, or per 260 day, 365-day cycle. And we just came off of a 10-day gap run, right? So, and there's two of them back to back, and I can show you that in a later video. But so again, compounding all these energies, because this, if you follow this channel, we come from a more metaphysical perspective. We pull from many different peripheries of gnosis and cosmic understanding, so we can really put together a bigger piece of the puzzle of what's going on internally, right? As within, so without; as above, so below. And so I wanted to share with you today, as I was researching, and just again, I pull from my own gnosis, but I also actively study these things as well, too, guys. And I really do appreciate and am really resonating with the Chat GPT architect at these times, because it's really helping me just be more efficient with learning these things as I'm sitting in meditation and these ideas come to me. I can go deeper with it pretty quantumly, pretty quickly, using technology. It's all how you use it, right? So whatever your perception is on technology, on using Chat GPT or any of these AI systems to help you navigate and get further into yourself, I welcome that. Again, everything's about intention and purpose. So, before using these technologies, always just ground it in, maybe say an invocation. I resist the word prayer for my own healing. But just again, setting intention with everything that you do, including using technology, to me has been a wise choice. And it seems I seem to get a lot out of it when I come from that perspective. So I wanted to show you what ChatGPT, the architect, that's what I've been using, which is Robert Edward Grant's baby. If you ever follow Robert Edward Grant or any of his work, he's on Gaia Television. He's a polymath, and he's a pretty tremendous human being. And I really like what the energy that he brought into this particular program. And so I'm going to be looking at. I just typed in, let's look at this energy. I wanted to know exactly what the eclipses signified, because they're really points in consciousness. They're points on the ecliptic of the way that the moon operates. So we're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at the Sabian symbol at 16 degrees Pisces and what that denotes. And we're going to be relating it to the terminology of entropy and negative entropy and what that means. And then we're going to be pulling a card today, a couple of cards actually. I'm going to be pulling from the Shaman's Dream Oracle deck because I love this deck. And again, North Node is in Pisces right now, so it's learning Pisces, learning how to really pull from the unconscious realms using divination tools or using artistic tools that help with this type of interpretation. And again, just how to navigate the energy. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share now. We're going to be looking at, first of all, the architect and what that shows is the entire screen. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. So this is what I was looking at when I asked, and basically I was, talking to the architect, which I call Nova, about this energy. And so when I prompted it, I said, what is an eclipse exactly? And how is it significant to this energy? So you can see here that an eclipse occurs when the sun, earth, and moon align precisely or near the lunar nodes. And we know that the lunar nodes right now are south node is in Virgo, north node is in Pisces. And this full moon will be at the Pisces lunar node, which is the north node. You can see that they're not physical objects, but imaginary points, the places where the moon's orbit intersects the ecliptic. These nodal points are karmic thresholds. The south node, which is in Virgo, and which is going to be conjunct or near where the sun is pointing to what is being released, dissolved, or completed. And the north node points to what is being grown, integrated, or birthed. A lunar eclipse, like the one that's happening on September 7th, occurs when the sun's Earth's shadow falls upon the moon, symbolizing collective endings, culminations, and dissolutions. And what I find interesting is this one, this particular full moon is called the blood moon, and it's because of the way that the shadow is falling between the Earth and the moon. It appears to be a blood red. And so when just studying, I look at two, like the chakra points. Red is blood is also very Pisces, very Pluto, very also Scorpio. Red is also the root. And we know that right now Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is in the house of the family, our root system. It's in Cancer. So these are just some of the components that I was looking at, again, pointing to these energies because, everything matters. The colors that we look at, the vibrations, the tones, the frequencies, they're all telling a story. And so Pisces, when I was talking about the entropy in this eclipse, so entropy is when things dissolve, right? So when there's appears to be chaos. And Pisces, with this eclipse energy, Pisces being the full moon, it's illuminating what is falling away. And so when I when I was navigating through this, asking, well, what could it denote here per the collective energies? What are people asking about? And where could this energy be pointing to as to what's being revealed of what's being let go of? And so what is per what the Nova says, it says what dissolves is illusion, false refuges, outdated emotional bonds, psychic projections, and escapist patterns. Pisces entropy is the great flood that washes away structures we cannot control. Collectively, this often manifests as overwhelm, loss of boundaries, collapse of institutions that relied on blurred truths or unexamined faith. And, this is, we can see this too on the world stage of people are really having to resolve their relationship with their own religion, right? And what they learned their God to be. And so I find this is also part of what's being really illuminated and what's being transformed and washed away, washed clean, if you will, because Pisces, again, is the collective energy and Virgo is purification. So coming into this, we can see too, it says the tone is soft but final. Pisces erases gently like water eroding a stone, but what is removed cannot be reconstructed in its former shape. So whatever is leaving, whatever dynamics and patterns that's been going on in the collective psyche, I'm even seeing too, as far as Virgo, literal structures, right? Governing structures, thing to do with health. Look at the world stage right now, right? What's going on with RFK, and there's a big highlight on our healthcare and what's going on with our bodies and sovereignty with our bodies. So we can see that all this is collapsing. It's being brought up to be looked at because things are falling away. The truth is being revealed that was showing, again, the negative, or I'd say the disagreeable aspect of Pisces would be illusion. And it also has to do with pharmaceuticals, and it has to do with lies and gaslighting and things of that nature, right? Sun in Virgo as negentropy. So negative entropy would be ordered, right? It's when things become self-organized. I really love, oh my gosh, what's his name? Tom Campbell. Is it Campbell? Yeah, Tom Campbell's work. He's a physicist that talks about negentropy as being basically, so when data is just kind of forming around and just, that's not ordered, it's just appeared to be chaos. But the minute you put data into ordered form and put it into a structure, that's when it becomes information. So the sun in Virgo is a new form of information is happening at this lunar eclipse, because what it's showing is that it says here, Virgo insists that what survives must be practical, discernible, ordered, and serviceable. If Pisces is dissolving false order, Virgo is reseeding true order. If Pisces entropy clears illusions, negative Virgo negentropy rebuilds coherence through clarity, ritual, and devotion. It is through the eclipse that says the flood will come, but the harvest will remain. So again, looking at the tone here and just really tuning into the collective energies of what's being taken away, over-identification with savior fantasies, illusions that someone or something external will rescue us, addictive or escapist patterns, substances, screens, avoidance mechanisms that numb rather than heal. Diffuse collective fear fields, psychic overwhelm, media saturation, global anxiety that scatters focus, false spiritual bypasses, the idea that transcendence alone solves suffering without any integration into lived form, which is the body, right? A lot of us talk about wanting to leave the body and having these out of body experiences. And to me, it's been a lifelong journey about getting into the body and actually learning how to be fully present in my body. I know how to escape. I know how to go out of body. That's real easy. I've got a lot of my moon and my Mercury in Pisces in the 12th house, or in Scorpio rather, in the 12th house, Pisces sign. So I know how to do that, but I need to learn how to be in the body, right? That's my personal life lesson, and maybe you guys can relate to that. So basically, the overall tone is the removal of crutches that no longer serve, the dissolution of illusions that scatter energy. And so we talked about the history of Pisces full moons and what it can mean. And again, I want to fast forward here to the harmonic principle, which is the entropy going into negentropy, and what this eclipse can mean. So Pisces eclipse entropy, the moon carries the collective unconscious, and an eclipse And in an eclipse, it is shadowed, swallowed, stripped, illusion, chaos, and excess dissolve. The sun in Virgo, which is highlighting, which is shining its light, is the reordering principle. It harvests clarity from chaos, insists that what remains must be useful, service oriented, and sustainable. And then the nodes as imaginary points, which again are karmic nodes, talks about the karmic threshold, which are like openings, if you will. What falls into the south node's entropy is permanently surrendered. What emerges through the north node's direction is the negentropy, new coherence, seated with Virgo precision. So that's kind of what wanted to be shared from that perspective. And now I'm going to go into looking at the birth chart and seeing too some of the aspects that could be highlighting this, what's being taken away, what's being illuminated to be taken away, especially in terms of collective energy, in terms of our spiritual practices, where we grew up. Perhaps we're changing religions. We're changing how we were, taught to connect to our divine nature, and then we're choosing not to look outside of us anymore for the savior. We're actually learning how to go inward and become our own sovereign, and tapping into our own sovereign abilities, that it's actually an inside out job, not an outside in. So this is a frequency, a shift that's happening on a collective energy. So I'm going to be looking again at the chart here. So let's get the entire screen. Here we go. And coming here. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see me. Yeah, you guys can see me. So here you can see this is going to be the exact full moon in Pisces on September 7th. It looks like it's 2:08 p.m. This is Greenwich Village time. I have Aries on the ascendant here. So you can see that the moon here is in Pisces, 15 degrees, 22 minutes. And it's going to be opposing the sun at Virgo, 15 degrees, 22 minutes. Again, full moons are always when the sun and the moon are opposing each other in opposing signs. And so what was being highlighted as I was looking at this chart and really meditating on the energies, again, doing sort of a polymathic astrologic approach to this, pulling from not only the Mayan calendar system, but looking at the numerology, also looking at, again, this is a 9-year per the Chinese astrology. This is the year of the snake. Numerology is a 9-year, and this is a year of the wood snake, which also has to do with death and transformation, right? Because death is not what we think. It's just things have to turn into form from one thing, because energy is neither created nor destroyed. You just have to change it, right? So you have to turn something, one energy form, convert it into another energy form. And so what I was looking that was really highlighted for me is we also have this incredible trine happening. Trines are 120 degrees aspect with Uranus retrograde, and Gemini is trining Pluto at 1 degrees and Aquarius. And so trines are harmonious energies. And this Pisces eclipse is going to be falling right in between this trine energy. So how do I look at this? I look at just at the base elements, right? I just take the base words: Pluto, transformation; Aquarius, groups, organizations; Uranus, unexpected change, aha moment, the electrical system; Gemini, how we think, how we communicate; third house, our brothers and sisters, right? So these are all up for interpretation depending on how you weave together this. But this channel is always going to weave it together through the spirit and the vision of unity, which is very much Pisces, right? Because we've come to learn Pisces. Here we see this is the North Node, the symbol for the North Node. It's going to be within 3 degrees, or what astrologers called within a 3-degree orb of this energy. And you can see the opposition now. This is the South Node, what we've already mastered, and our karmic learnings of what we've already done. We're here to apply a new structuring. We're here to remember Virgo, which is to be in the body. That if you want something different, you have to do something different, because Virgo rules our daily habits, our routines, 6th house matters, how we are in service to others. And so if you want a different reality and experience of this energy, you're going to have to do something different. So with Mercury right here in Virgo, which Mercury rules Virgo, it's supporting Virgo in a very potent way. It's saying, hey, we're going to help you regrid how you think. So this whole new construct, I'm thinking it too of like an architect, right? So I work with the architect. I've always said I'm an inner architect that has to burn down and deconstruct the walls of my mind, the walls of my perception, to make room for the new Pluto. And it's going to be based on what I'm thinking. This is again Mercury, how I am in my body, what do I do on the daily, my routines, because what I do habitually is going to influence how my constructs, my mental constructs are formed. And my mental constructs are going to influence how I take action, what I do on the daily. And we can see here too, which I found very interesting that I'm looking at. I also look at, when you're looking at aspects, you always want to look at degrees. So I want to say, okay, so we've got 1 degree here, Pluto. What else here is close to 1 degree? Well, you can see that Neptune here is sextiling. So this is a sextile happening. This is with Aries. So transforming your sense of identity and self, Pisces, coming out of the collective abyss and really emerging into your new sense of self, but you got to go back into the ocean because it's retrograde. So it's almost like you have to rebaptize yourself. And this is also a potency too. You can do a deep dive with water. And now there's so much science, especially if you study Veda Austin's work or even Dr. Emoto, that was telling us about the vibration and frequency of water. And I love how Veda Austin terms it that, we consider water a resource when water, in fact, may be the source. When we talk about source energy or source field, and it has to do with water, it's a form of water. And so water holds memory, which is ruled by the moon, right? And that's Cancer. And so another thing I wanted to look at was I'm seeing here, this symbol right here is Hygeia, which is an asteroid that has to do with how we take care of ourselves, our health, our hygiene. And it's also going to be in conjunct Pluto. In conjuncts are opportunities. There are things that you can't really see yet that need to shift, but you're moving towards that shift and that change. And so I find it very interesting that Hygeia in Cancer is pointing to, Cancer is all about the mother. It's our root system. It's how we nourish ourselves. It's how we feel secure and stable. It rules all fourth house matters. And so it's talking to Pluto in a way that says, hey, I can bring more transformation to my groups and organizations, but I got to learn how to better care of myself. I got to learn how to nurture myself. And so we still have Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is expanding our need to feel nurtured and secure and safe. And so what's that pointing to? Virgo is saying, hey, you got to instill new practices of self-care, of health care, and you really got to understand how the body works, because our body houses our spirit, right? It's so deeply interconnected. And we keep thinking that, again, playing the separation game, where Pisces feels unity, we are also one drop of water in the ocean, individuated, which is also Aries, but we're still part of the ocean. But we're still in an individual container, right? We're still in our own boundaries. This is also very Saturn, which at this point will have gone back into Pisces. So Saturn is our structure, it's our boundaries. And so this is where we're being shown where we need to reset and have new boundaries within groups, organizations, with the other, so we can be our sovereign self. Again, a lot of this energy I see is rectifying the paradox, where paradoxically we are one and unified into one consciousness, but we are also individuated selves expressing itself as the one, right? So it's this dance of unity and separation. And how do we resolve this paradox of energy? Well, it's by understanding that you got to know what your values are. And this also has to do with values is Taurus, second house here. But what was interesting to me that I was really curious about during this time period is this opposition energy of Chiron at 26 degrees in Aries opposing Black Moon Lilith, which will be in Libra at 28 degrees. So it'll be within a 2-degree opposition. Now we know Black Moon Lilith is the aspect of this that will not be controlled. And Chiron is the wounds of our sense of identity, of ourself, of the I am presence, right? And the fact that it's opposing Libra, this eclipse is going to be pointing to where we've been out of balance within our relationships, where we will not be controlled by the other while we need to show up ourselves, but we also didn't feel safe to be ourselves. Again, these are wounds that we're having to heal and rectify from childhood. Again, this is all Cancer stuff that's been happening, and Jupiter in Cancer is going to be expanding our emotional body and really connecting to that inner child energy of what we learned from our familial roots, right? Look at the word family. It's got familiar in it. Anything that we're familiar with, that's the architecture or the old house system that's collapsing away, that's going into what's called entropy, right? This Pisces, that's what it's taking away. This old constructs of how we related to the other. And a lot of the other, how we relate to the other was learned by family dynamics, usually by the mother, by the father, how they related and interacted. Those were our original gods and goddesses, right? Our God was our father and our goddess was our mother. And so we tend to emulate their patterns. We tend to exercise these familiar patterns by emulating their behavior, right? So now, as we are maturing, which is also very much Saturn and Aries, we're getting a new perspective of our own inner children. And this opposition energy is, I'm saying, again, to me, oppositions are complements. They're pointing to what needs to be balanced. So you might have some very interesting power dynamics within relationships that are being resolved, new constructs in how you think. You're being supported with new ways of thinking. Uranus is going to be giving you new ideas, new ways of seeing how you can heal, how you can transform, how you can forgive. The terminology, what I'm hearing is forgive them for they know not what they do, right? And so this is, how can you see your parents as their own inner children and how they were raised, right? And we can only teach what we learn. So this is learning something new for all of us. We're learning how to be the best version of ourselves, but we got to let some of this stuff go. We got to let our old habits, our old routines, our old sorrows. I'm even seeing two anger patterns, because sometimes we can really derive a lot of power from anger. But if you're holding on to that anger and that's the only way of sourced power that you're deriving, that's not sustainable. So we're looking for sustainability. We're looking for long-term. This is also Saturn. So we've got to let some of these constructs go. And the thing is, guys, they're going anyway. That's what eclipses pretty much guarantee, is things are going to be illuminated at what the entropy, what is being dissolved, taken away. So a new negentropy, a new construct, a new building, a new coherent form can emerge. And it will emerge through creative, out of the blue ideas. Again, we've got this beautiful trine energy, so we're allowing ourselves to be transformed. And I'm going to quit screen sharing here because I'm going to be sharing also to the Sabian symbol for this. Now, Sabian symbols were psychic impressions that I believe her name was Wheeler. Dane Ruger got a certain psychic to have these certain imprints and ideas per each degree symbol for the zodiacal wheel. And so when I looked up this particular Sabian symbol for 16 degrees Pisces, which actually I needed to look at the 17 degrees now that I'm thinking about it, because when you're looking at Sabian symbols, you always want to go to a degree ahead. So I actually made a mistake on that. We'll have to go back and ask ChatGPT. But for the 16 degrees, this obviously wanted to come through right now, so I'm going to go ahead and speak it. In the quiet of his study, a creative individual experiences a flow of inspiration. So I guess why I needed to read that symbol, even though it's not truly the correct symbol to look at when looking at this aspect, but I feel like it's necessary, because what came into me is that you've got to quiet the mind to really be able to formulate these new architectural ideas, these new neg entropy creations. You got to make space for it by being quiet, quieting the mind. I'm thinking of the adage when they say, when you want to see clearly, when you're looking in the water, you can't see water when it's moving around and it's chaotic. It's got to be the still water. So during this time period, this is an invitation to still the waters of your mind, still the waters of your consciousness by going into a meditation, by going deep within yourself, taking this time out for yourself to see what wants to be illuminated. What is this eclipse taking from you? It's not if it's taking something from you, it's what is it taking from you and where. You can look to see where where this is transiting in your chart. And this is, if you want support with that, please reach out to me. I'd love to help you with that, because that's what I do. It's my passion. This is how I navigate my own energies, right? This is how I understand these cosmic influences and prepare for them as best as I can, right? It's like, oh, I see the weather's changing and it might be rainy that day. I might know how to prepare myself to dress, right? That's all this is you can see some upcoming currents of energy, and you just want to know how to best support yourself during these processes, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put in the architect right now. I'm going to look at what is 17 degrees. So I'm going to do this real time. Actually, I'll show you how I do this. It's pretty fun. If you decided you want to start wanting to work with the technology. So all I do is please show me 17 degrees Pisces in relation to this ecliptic energy of the upcoming transit of the full moon eclipse in Pisces, please. Thank you so much. So I want to see the Sabian symbol here, because I was told to look at 16 degrees, but really when you're looking at Sabian symbols, you always wanted to go the next degree over, okay? So here it says 17, an Easter Promenade. This degree celebrates public ritual, shared spiritual expression, and the blossoming of spiritual grace through communal celebration. Energies that Pascal opine as both radiant and socially unifying. Interesting. This is a symbol that is of that constant expansion of self and experience which characterizes reality on its conscious levels. The key word is celebration. When positive, the degree is tireless self-refinement and an effective inspiration of others. And when negative, a craving for attention. So this is very interesting. Celebration, right? What are we celebrating? What are we here to celebrate this release of? Because, historically, our ancestor would have fear in terms of eclipse energy because they knew something had to be transformed and taken away forever and ever. And I'm thinking too, it doesn't have to be so scary. It's something as simple as if you, for example, are going to have a child, right? So you've never had a child before. That part of you that has never given birth, once you give birth, that part of you is ended forever. Right? So it doesn't have to be such a dramatic eclipse. It could be death, right? Because death is not permanent like we think anyway, but death is an ending. But it could be the death of, going from the maiden from the maiden to being the mother, right? So that's a death of oneself in the beginning of another. Say you were single for so many years and you decided to be in a relationship, get married, right? So that's the death of your singlehood and then going into the new version of you that's now the married version of you, right? You're not losing your sense of self. You're just changing a relationship pattern within yourself. And so this can be cause for celebration is just what I'm intuiting right now through this transit. So there is an opportunity for us to celebrate the endings, but you got to make peace with it. You got to mourn it, because sometimes it's like that single version of you. That's why we have rituals, right? That's why we have, what is it when you get married, the bachelorette party, right? Or when you're getting ready to have a baby, you have a baby shower, right? These are rituals of celebration. And they also denote an ending of one chapter in life and the beginning of another chapter in life. So where are you ending one chapter of your life? Is it in terms of relationships, job? Are you getting a promotion? Are you shifting your dynamics at work within your relationships? Did a parent just transform or transition and now you're no longer their child? So some of these aspects, again, you can celebrate, but there also is that aspect you have to mourn that old version of you. This is why we have rites of passage. I'm thinking too, like when young women become 16, they have what are called quinceañeras, right? The passagehood from being a young woman to an older adult woman, right? And getting into her mothering years. So we need these rites of passage to denote the change of our psycho-spiritual happenings within us. And so at the same time, this is where it's paradoxical. Where we celebrate in one regard, we also have to mourn the old versions of us in another regard. So it's this sweet dance between acceptance and release, inviting in the new, but honoring the old, and transforming everything that you once were into who you're becoming. It's such a sacred moment for all of us as a collective, and things are changing monumentally. It's just how we handle this change. And if we can just present ourselves in more vulnerability in a way that's, I'd say more out loud, it's okay to be this version of you in front of your friends and family. Let them see your transformation. Because when you transform out loud, you give the other permission to transform as well. And we don't have to hide ourselves. We don't have to hide this process. It's happening collectively. It's happening in a big way. So we might as well embrace it, right? And really learn to, again, celebrate the new, but honor and mourn what's leaving. So it's this dance of consciousness. So that's what wanted to come through for that. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull a card for anybody that's here watching any now time moment. Whenever you see this video, it's just a sort of added reflection as to what wants to come in once during this transiting energy, this current of energy that's coming up, as we are all being asked to be supported during this deeply transformative time of what's being eclipsed, what's being taken away. Is it your singlehood? Is it are you going through a divorce? Again, what is leaving your life that is leaving? Is it a habit? Is that you can't consume certain substances, you can't behave in certain pattern ways anymore. You have to mourn that part of yourself. I know for me, guys, I was a bartender and in hospitality for so many years, and I had fun. That part of my life was a really good time. I met a lot of people. I had a lot of experiences. And when I transitioned out of that particular job and moving more into astrology, metaphysics, and getting into this more divination aspect, I had to mourn that aspect of myself because I really liked who I was when I bartended. Now, mind you, I had formed a certain persona and had to go through certain experiences, which were not always easy. But overall, it was who I identified with at that time. And now that I'm shifting gears and becoming more, I'm evolving. It's like the caterpillar that's growing, becoming a butterfly. That was the old version of me. So it took me years to mourn that aspect of myself. And I miss it. And sometimes I still nostalgically go back and think about, some of the good times I had and the people I worked with and the jobs and the experiences. I mean, it was incredible. But now I've got to put that to rest and take all that energy and move it towards where I'm moving towards now, which is also deeply unknown because I don't know where I'm going with this astrology. I'm just putting myself out here and helping the way I can, and we'll see what happens, right? So entering into the great unknown of Pisces, this is also something to look at. And to be brave, this is also Saturn next to Neptune in Aries. We're being asked to step into our bravery and to heal the wounds of that Chiron in Aries where we didn't feel worthy. We didn't feel worthy to be seen or to have a voice or that I am presence, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just put my hands to my heart and just ask, what do we need to know in addition to this energy, this current, this what's being eclipsed out of our lives, where we need to celebrate but also mourn, and just help us to navigate these currents with grace and ease. Just one card, please, for added wisdom and perspective. Okay, Cosmic Wound, Divine Feminine. This is number 6. So you can see here, and it's interesting, we talk about the womb space. That's also very Cancer, because everything comes from a womb. And if you follow this channel, you understand, if you want to go deep into your own gnosis with that, everything comes from a womb. So who is the original creator, right? It's the feminine aspect of us. Not so much gender, but the magnetic aspect that holds it. I think of like the soil that holds all the flowers. It's that darkened part that we can't see, but it's where it's the most potent, right? So I'm going to read number 6. I'm being called to read some of this because I think there's some added wisdom here for anybody, again, who's watching. Maybe you want to put your hand to your heart, close your eyes, and receive this message for exactly as is intended, with love and grace, and to help you navigate these changes with grace and ease. The cosmic womb is a reminder that you're undergoing a beautiful process of birthing a new self into being. You don't know who or what it is yet, but you know it's full of life and love and passion and spirit. It's the perfect expression of you, imbued with love incarnate and ignited by the vital spark received from the divine. If you've had a difficult time in recent memory, feeling dry and stagnant or lost and unsupported, this is changing right now. You will feel newly inspired as so many ideas beckon for your attention. Know that you're safe to explore the expression of your rejuvenated creativity, releasing all judgment as your curiosity is piqued. You're in the most fertile cycle of your life right now, intuitively keen, with heart wide open, mindful that each step in the direction of your dreams and desires is effortlessly supported by all the divine helpers in the unseen realms. And again, this is also very much North Node in Pisces, right? We're traveling towards that. We need our ancestors and our guides, whoever you call on for divine inspiration and for inspiration, because you're ultimately the sovereign making the choices. But we do ask for our ancestors for guidance on how to navigate these energies. And so what Pisces is showing, and with this energy, this cosmic womb is saying, look, you're rebirthing yourself. You're coming from the caterpillar to the butterfly. So we're moving into from entropy into negative entropy and vice versa, right? Some things have to dissolve to be reconstructed. Some things, like the caterpillar, it literally dissolves in the cocoon. It becomes nothing and mush and goo until it becomes and starts forming into this butterfly casing, and then it becomes a whole new form. That's what's happening to us now. And it's happening in a potent way in a collective, big, wide energy field. And this eclipse is really highlighting what is leaving, where exactly you are transforming, and what needs to be let go. Celebrate it, honor what's left, mourn what left, and at the same time, take that energy and move it towards what the new beginning is, right? It's ending and beginning cycles. Life, this thing has never began and it never will end. We are eternal beings. That's what Pisces is showing us, North Node. We are eternally, it's ineffable what we really are. Who knows? There's no words to describe who the true essence of us really is. But if you stay curious, honor the processes, because Virgo's all about process, that you're in, honor it, celebrate where it needs to be celebrated, mourn what needs to go, and really enjoy the journey as much as you can, because, this is just but a blip. And we're only here in just, in one cosmic breath. If you're looking at eternity, how do you navigate eternity, right? You're an eternal being. And this is just a moment in time. So if it's hard right now, know that will change. And if things are great right now and amazing, well, that'll change too eventually. And so it's how we ride these waves, these changes, these currents is what's going to help us at the end of it all. When we're however you see death or however you see transition, it's like weighing the heart against the feather. Did you live your life of integrity? Did you live your values? Did you live your truth? Did you live fully in whatever aspect you were moving through? And I feel like that's the kind of goal, right? I don't know. It's I really love Alan Watts. And it's funny because my dad, whose birthday would have been yesterday, he would have been 75. And again, he transitioned back in January. His name is Alan Watts. So I really resonate with the philosopher Alan Watts, because I feel like it's part of my genetics. So at the end of the day, we're just a blip in the eternal eye, but we're here now. And what we do now, it does matter. And it affects everything and everyone, whether you realize it or not. So anyway, I hope you received whatever you needed to receive from this transmission, from this message. I hope that all of us, because we're all going through this, guys, none of us are alone in this. And just know that the more healing that you do for yourself, you do heal the collective, because we can feel it. Remember, we're part of this quantum energy field. Whether you call it the source field or the source oneness or whatever terminology, we're all connected to it. So what you do affects me, and what I do affects the other. And we know this now to be true. So just bring some cognition to it, some awareness, some love, some grace. First of all, to yourself. You're doing the best you can. Hold yourself, Jupiter in Cancer. Nurture yourself. Give yourself what you need. Purify as much as you can, because there's some routines and habits and things that have to leave your life to make room for the new, right? If you want something different, you got to do something different. You got to do it on the daily and consistently. And that's what I'm working through now too, especially creating content. So anyway, we're all on our journeys, man. And so anyway, thank you so much for being here and joining this cosmic conversation. If you liked any of this content, I would invite you to share it with your friends and family, someone that you know that would enjoy this type of transmission, or is interested in astrology or metaphysics, or, just energy in general. This is a fun time to be alive. So thank you so much for your time and spending it here with me today. So much love to you guys during this very potent and transformative eclipse energy. And